you see things in a different light that you never thought about before. Life becomes a meaningful thing all of a sudden. And you'll be willing to die for it. You see, for what you've learned. Because that's what I said to myself. The second night when I went back home, I had about an hour in the streetcar to my place. I got home at 12 o'clock. I said, hey, if they do me in tonight, I have the beautiful experience of having learned these great, wonderful things about God. Beautiful things. So on Wednesday night, there I had the first hope. I can't remember exactly what verse of scripture was, but this one here says, he came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God. You see, and since he had explained what it meant.
And you took that right into your heart.
Yeah.
Roger, during these 3 days, from Monday night, Tuesday night to Wednesday night, what went through your mind regarding the spirits?
I knew that I was going to be worked over by the spirits, either through one of their boys or some accident or something, see. This is the way I felt, I mean. And I said, this is very unusual, that nothing has happened yet. And I'm going home on Wednesday night again with another appointment for Thursday Bible studies at 7 o'clock.
Now, let me make sure I understand. You had missed Wednesday night Spirit Praise service,
yes.
at which time you were supposed to have made your full commitment.
Yeah, I would have.
And you had been at a Bible study instead.
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happened next?
So I said, this will be the end of it. Wednesday night I said, they'll have a praise session to the gods, and that'll be it. But nothing happens Wednesday night. Thursday morning I was alive. And I went back for another Bible study. And that is 4 more. And by then I realized that the Creator was taking care of things. Because these people never give God the glory. But they always refer to higher powers. They respect, they pride themselves on the fact that they respect authority. You see? So therefore, they recognize the Creator for who He is. And but of course, the master, fallen Lucifer, is just as smart as God is. And he's got it worked out, so he's going to have a kingdom to himself for eternity, and you don't have to worry about things. So I realized that the power of God was intervening. Now I became brave. See, and the Spirit of God gave me the strength to do that, because I said that God gave me the strength to be able to die for these things that I just learned. You see, and that's what happened. I got those Bible studies.
So you went ahead and went to Bible studies on Friday night?
Yeah.
And then you kept your first Sabbath, didn't you? Tell us about your experience on Sabbath.
First, that evening, before I left, 11 o'clock, Cheryl says, you enjoy the Bible studies? Oh, yeah, very, very much so. I said, tomorrow you people are going to church? He says, yeah. I said, interesting. He said, would you like to come with us? I said, yeah. Because I had the Bible study on the Sabbath already. I said, sure. I'm still alive. And he said, what do you mean by you're still alive? Well, I said, I'll say if I'm still alive, I'll be here, I'll do this or do that. But I knew what I'd said. I'm still alive. And he said, would you join us here and we'll walk to church? It's not that far. We'll walk a few blocks, and it'll be a nice day tomorrow. I said, yeah, sure, I'll meet you here. And we walked to church, and we were welcome at the door, and there was a rack of brochures on the walls. I walked over and looked at some of them, picked up a couple, put in my pocket, and we were from Sabbath school, and I thought it was great.
Roger, the Lord helped you get through the Sabbath day without smoking. How did you eventually deal with your smoking habit?
Well, I tell you, Pastor Taylor talked, for quite a while. When it got to be about 7:15 in the evening, I was getting very distressed because I got a tremendous urge of smoking about an hour before. And I said, oh, I got to have a cigarette. I just can't stand it anymore. And as the pastor continued explaining what I had to ask him to explain, it was difficult for me. And as he left, I told Cyril and Cynthia, I said, I'm sorry, but I got to smoke. And on the way home in the streetcar, I said to myself, this is going to be, she was expression, but a hell on earth to give up smoking. Then I said, no, it's not going to be, because I'm going to have help. I got to my apartment and I opened a clothes closet and I had 2 cartons of cigarettes on the shelf. And I opened them up and threw all the cigarettes, you know, all the packs were opened up, threw into the toilet and flushed it down the drain. And then I knelt by the little table I had there with my Bible on it. And I had already had started to read that Crucifixion of Christ, which I have read for 45 years now, every morning. Matthew the 27th chapter, verses 24 through 54. Every day, God willing, I always read it. Well, now I have my devotions at night, and I don't have to put the light on because I know it by heart, see? Mm-hmm. But there I placed my trust and my life in the care of the Lord of glory, who had shed his precious blood on Calvary to acquire the legal right to be able to redeem me from where I was and from where I was going. So that was the end of smoking. Never had a desire to smoke again. Mm-hmm. I told him to take the desire away to recreate me. I realized that he was a creator he can recreate.
Roger, as you came closer to making a full commitment to God, did the demons try to prevent you from making that commitment in any way?
Well, I didn't have to wait too long. During the week, the Spirit of God held back the demon spirits so that they could not have access to me. I realized that from Wednesday night on. Then, as I came home at midnight of that Saturday night, there was a note on my door from my buddy. And he said, it is urgent that I talk to you tonight. I don't care if you call me in the middle of the night. But he says, I got to talk to you. We're having a terrible disaster. Facing a terrible disaster. So I said, well, Roland, one must have gotten some real static, Sure enough. First of all, I wanted to review something that we'd studied at night. So I had a book. They lent me a book, St. James Herald, and I opened the book up and I started to read. And there was a marker, a sheet of paper actually, that had been cut in half in there. And I had put it on the table. And the piece of paper started to levitate and move around the room. See? So it didn't bother me. I knew what was doing it. And then the sheet of paper came and stood about a foot above my book. Then it was slapped down on the book, and the book fell on my lap, and almost into the floor. I picked it up. See? And I felt like telling the spirits, buzz off. But I had understood that I would not again talk with spirits. I had made up my mind on that. So I picked up the book again, started to write, and then the spirit picked up the book and threw it across the room against the wall with tremendous force. So I decided, well, I'm going to go and phone my buddy, see what he's going to do. Now there was a public phone in the hallway. I didn't want to use it. I went down to a diner or restaurant or just down the block, and I called him up. How's things rolling? He says, man, he says, don't you care for my life, Morneau? What kind of a friend are you? I've been suffering, he says, since Wednesday. He says, trying to get a hold of you. And he says, I've been waiting at your door. What time did you come home? I said, come home at midnight. He said, you're in real trouble. Because the high priest, as a spirit, appeared to him on Wednesday evening and told him that you were studying the Bible with some Christians. But you were not just studying the Bible with Christians. You were studying the Bible with Seventh-day Adventists. the people that the master hates most on the face of the planet. How in the world did you get yourself involved in something like that? Don't you care for your life? I said, sure. Beside that, he says,